We're back.
Yes, we are.
Hi, Wildflowers.
She's got the voice on. She's questioning herself.
I was.
Episode number
What is it?
102.
Look at you two.
Yes, I'm Judy.
Uh-oh, look at that.
We didn't do that last
I'm
time.
I hate doing that.
I'm Peggy.
I'm Carol.
I respect you, watchers.
She didn't even get
in
it.
case you don't know. I know, I don't listen to you. You're Peggy, this is Carol.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, it's been ages since we did our last podcast. Kidding. We just did one. Now we did this
Don't
one.
give away our secrets.
No.
That's why we're a little bit drunk, because we already had wine.
The second one's always better.
Yeah, my concern is like,
Day drinking.
when I mix white with red, I get a headache. But I didn't drink a lot of the Pinot Grigio.
No.
Well, I'll take
Just
the
a
risk.
little bit.
I really like that Pinot Grigio.
I'm
Oh,
glad.
good. Well, you take it home because that's
Yeah,
good.
well, I know
have
that
a
I
word.
like this one.
I have a word.
Which is?
Flauner. It's spelled F-L-A-N-E-U-R, but it's pronounced flauner.
F-L-A-N-U-E-R.
F-L-A-N-E-U-R. Yes, correct.
Is it a noun?
It sounds like it's a French word.
I know. I should look up that. Can you take that?
Is it a noun?
It is. Well, it means an idler or a lounger.
Yeah, that sounds like a flauner.
Flauner.
No, I was thinking more dessert or wine.
Oh, like flan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like flan. Do you like flan?
Yeah, that's the caramelly stuff.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Yeah, it gives
Yeah,
me
it's
heart
good.
palpitations with it. It's so rich that I can't eat it. Well, I can eat it. I just suffer for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my word. I had to share
okay.
that.
I don't have a word. I have a fun trivia fact to get from the New Yorker.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a little early, but December of this year will be the 250th birthday of Jane Austen.
Oh,
that's
And
cool.
she's one of my favorite authors.
my
I know,
goodness.
you're not a,
I like
her?
Oh
okay.
yeah, no, I watch. I've been
you don't.
watching.
I like the movies better than the books.
Well, that's what this article was dealing with. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead.
No, do you like her books or I'm just curious?
I haven't read any of her in ages. If I've read any of her, I forget. But I've been watching on the YouTube channel a lot of documentaries, and it has one about the whole Austen family.
Yes.
So interesting.
There's the one you told me to start.
Okay.
I saw the first episode. I haven't seen
Okay.
it. It deals with her sister.
Okay, but there's another one that's
okay.
like an actual documentary.
Oh, I gotta look that one up then.
And-
There's some novels now too. They're like the Jane Austen
Yes.
something, and like they're like modern day stories, but they have to do with Jane Austen.
Well, yes, that's
Yeah.
kind of this little blurb, one little tiny column here in the New Yorker asked this writer what shared her favorite movie adaptations of Jane Austen.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I've seen, I've read all of her novels.
Yeah.
I've seen many movie adaptations. I was like, do I agree? Well, the woman who did it was Alexandra Schwartz. I don't agree with you, Miss Schwartz. I'm sorry.
Really?
She listed her very first one as the Pride and Prejudice version with Keira Knightley.
Oh, I like
okay.
that one.
I hate that one.
You do?
It's
Oh, I
my
liked it. Who was
least
the guy
favorite.
who played the guy?
It was
Who's the guy who
Matthew
played-
I forgot that name.
Matthew McFadden.
Well, whoever he was, I fell in love with him when I
Okay.
saw that movie. He
No,
was very,
I thought that
very
was one of the worst
No.
adaptations. I hated it. I loved the one with Colin Firth, which was the BBC
You
version.
love Colin Firth.
Well, I love Colin Firth because that's the first time I've seen him was in
Yeah.
a BBC version of Pride and Prejudice.
And who played the woman?
Jennifer Ehle. So she was the epitome of Elizabeth Bennet in this.
Oh,
But anyway, so her
okay.
next verse, she had two more. So was As If, which I'm sorry, that was As If. That meant a sentence. She goes, the next one she liked was Clueless. I kind of that was a good one.
Oh.
Clueless is a
That's
modern
an
adaptation of Emma.
Oh,
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yes,
yeah.
I did not know that.
And then she picked for her
I
third
love that
one.
movie, Clueless.
It's a good
so
movie.
much fun. It's very
You
fun.
would like Emma then to read Emma. And then the third one she
I didn't
chose
like Emma. I
was
have it on my
Mansfield
shelf.
Park, which I've seen Mansfield Park. Emma is my least favorite novel out of hers.
Yeah.
And I don't like the character of
Yeah.
Emma. I think but Clueless is what you were saying, modern adaptation, there are other ones. For example, Bridget Jones's Diary.
Right.
Oh,
Is
okay.
a modern adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
Right, right,
Oh.
exactly.
And I think what she's got such great staying power. What a great thing for a woman writer.
Yes.
250 years later,
Yeah.
we're still reading her novels, and people are still interested in seeing versions of her novel on
Right.
the big screen.
Yeah.
Go check out a Jane Austen book.
No, I
again.
bought a copy of Persuasion. God, I bought it, I think when
Yeah.
theaters first opened. So when was that, in 2021?
Yeah.
2021?
Here's me.
I still haven't read it, and I bought it. I said, I'm going to make myself read it.
That was my first Jane Austen novel
Yeah.
I read, which hooked
So-
me right at the beginning to her work.
What do you
Yeah,
want?
I
loved
have
it.
to put it in the queue. I have so many books that I have to read.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
She's I was talking about this with somebody recently, is another female writer that has staying power all these years is Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
She's the best-selling
Yeah.
author of
Yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
And we
Who
are
is?
still
Agatha Christie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right? And power to women and
Yeah.
women writers. You
Yep.
know, I just
I know.
love that.
Real classy.
Yes, I know, really so.
We're gonna play that over and over again. Rewind.
Oh my God.
Hey, you know what? It's the real deal here. I'm
Like you get on a horse.
A real
Judy
classy
up there.
broad.
Yeah, classy broad here.
Oh my God.
That was my banter.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have to read, this summer I'm going to read Persuasion.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna
I will.
hold her to that. We're gonna hold you to that.
But I do like Pride and Prejudice,
Well,
the
you can
movies.
almost write that down.
I felt
Look at the BBC version. It's a 6-hour long one, but it's worth it.
Okay.
It's really, really good. And Colin Firth when he's young.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
a
like
wet
him. He's
white
good.
shirt.
Do you
Yeah.
like the Brontes?
Yes, I do, but not as much as I love.
See, I
Jane
like,
Austen.
Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books.
Oh,
I love
okay.
Jane Eyre.
I love Jane Eyre.
And I love all the movies.
Because I watched
Jane
the
Eyre.
documentary too about them, and that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have an interesting story.
Oh, does somebody want wine?
I bet you Judy would like the red
I know.
because she wasn't happy with the Pinot Grigio.
Oh, well. Okay, so anyway,
It's
Yes,
a cantered wine.
this wine is called Chateau de Nages.
Ooh.
I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly.
Well,
Let me get the bottle.
It
For right now,
you.
first let me pour.
sounds good.
Somebody could have volunteered before while I spoke.
Well, you should have. I know how you like to control things, so you never know with her.
Oh, I'm all stuffy from my allergies, so it's hard for me to check.
Okay, let me see this. Shit.
Ooh.
Chateau de Nages, Nages. It's
Okay.
French. I don't speak French.
That sounds good.
2021, and the name of the wine is called Heritage.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
What year is that?
It smells very
2021.
good,
Oh, okay.
Let me smell it.
from what I can
I like-
smell.
Oh, it does smell
I'm
good.
Yes.
It smells full bodied.
Yes, it does.
I've never had it before, so I don't know.
I might be a happy camper.
So let's sniff it and see what we smell.
I smell wine.
Let's toast to women writers.
Okay,
Oh,
that's good.
definitely.
Let's do that.
Oh,
in
how
Jane
about
Austen.
Carol
And
Honig?
We have a woman writer right here.
Thank you. Oh, are we sipping?
I am.
We could if you want to. I'm reading. I wrote this when we were supposed to do the last one that we canceled.
Okay, what am I tasting?
Oh, this is interesting taste.
Well,
I wasn't
first of all, you
expecting
look at
this.
the color, and when I was pouring it into the decanter,
Oh, that was so
and the
pretty.
light was shining through it, it looked so beautiful. It was a beautiful ruby color, and it says here,
This is a very
dark
smooth
and
Mm.
wine.
intense colors, very fresh fruit, and brilliant garnet. And it was, the color was.
No, it was. It was very entertaining to watch you pour it into the decanter.
I'm not
This
getting
is
that
delicious.
that back issue with like I did with the Pinot Grigio. It just goes,
Yeah.
All right, wait, let me.
Well,
like
this doesn't
syrup.
have a long finish anyway.
No, it's very smooth.
Okay, so I'm going to read about it. It's Heritage Rouge. Okay.
Interesting.
Fragrant
It's
spices.
very different tasting.
Yeah, I can't pick up one particular,
Okay, well, tell me
Nice.
what you're picking up. Anything?
not one particular thing.
Pepper.
Yeah, maybe pepper.
There are fragrant spices, black cherry,
Yeah.
Okay.
and licorice.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
And I-
Licorice.
And I hate
Give way
That's
to,
what it
I
is.
was wrong about
That's
the
what it
finish,
is.
a long, lush, soft finish.
A soft, yeah.
Soft. It's
Really
smooth.
yeah.
The licorice makes
Smooth.
sense because it was
Smooth.
tasting different to me, but that
This
makes
is
sense.
really
here.
good.
Yes, it is. It's a good one.
Okay, you know what kind of wine it is?
No, this is what's driving me crazy. I don't know what. It's a different one for me. It's not a Malbec, is it?
It is not a Malbec.
It is not a
I was going to say, am I right?
It's a blend.
Syrah.
Syrah is 15%.
No way.
Well
yeah.
done, Carol.
Good guess.
I was just gonna say that.
Let's name all the red wines that we could that we know.
Not Cabernet Franc. That would
No.
no.
Yeah.
One of them I never even heard of.
What is it?
Mourvedre.
I like the
Mourvedre. Mourvedre. And the most of it is one that I do like that generally is from Spain. Grenache.
Oh, Grenache.
okay.
Very interesting.
60%. 60.
60%.
Second podcast, folks.
Unedited.
Yeah.
60% Grenache, 25% Mourvedre, and 15% Syrah.
The next time you get adopt a dog, I want you to call it more.
Okay, and this is from their old vines.
Huh?
Well, that's what, like, even like the best Zinfandels are from old vines. Like they
Oh,
take
they
their
keep-
old
oh,
plants
okay.
and they use them instead of
Not
the
like
new one.
stale and
Oh, that's the old one.
All right,
I
so
never
on the
heard that.
nose, it's lavish, complex array of ripe red berries, raspberry and cherry, peppers,
Yes.
oriental spices, and aromatic herbs. And the taste is rich and balanced with fine tannic grain. With fine tannic grain, I don't know what that means. It reveals spices, licorice,
I'm gonna
and
take
minerality, and a long, elegant finish. I didn't find the finish long.
I do.
I
I do now, just now.
Very.
Just
no,
now.
I don't find it long.
Just now that I said it.
Exactly, because I really wasn't thinking
No,
about it.
I don't find it long. It's very smooth.
That's
That's it.
Spit it out.
It's a busy wine to me. It's just got so much going on. There's
my
so
goodness.
much complex.
This would be a dinner wine for me. Something I should have with a dinner.
Oh, I was gonna think instead of dinner, you just have this.
Yes. Yes and yes.
No, okay. All right, we have to guess the alcohol content.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I
Um,
forgot to write the price down.
Peggy,
I'll look
we
it up.
need to know the price.
I'll look it up.
Okay. All right.
Heritage, Chateau de
Did you
Nage.
get
All
it?
right.
Total
I'm gonna
wine?
say
I got it at Total Wine.
13.5%
That's what you're gonna
for
say. I'm
yeah.
gonna say 14.5.
Exactly, 14.5.
Whoa, this is
Yep.
a strong wine.
Mm-hmm. It's a strong one.
No wonder I can't speak.
Yeah, she had one sip.
Heritage.
Well, I had a glass of wine for the last podcast.
With that sentence structure. the last. Oh, the glass that I had.
Oh, I have to get that.
But that was
I'm
only
adult.
12%.
You know what? I could get my phone if I knew where it was.
Yeah, no, I have it here. I'm on this site. Oh no, it's not telling me here. Oh, here. Well, Total Wine. Oh no, that's the different one. Let's see. Heritage. You bought it at Total Wine, you said?
Yes.
Would you give it a guess?
Chateau de Nage.
Okay, so it's $19.99.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is it organic
We
wine?
didn't guess
You
the
know what? I
price.
thought it
It's organic.
said there that it was, but on the label it does not.
But over here
Yeah.
it says it's organic.
I know, I read that there, but here it does not say that it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess the price since we.
Oh,
Okay, very, very good, Carol.
Good for you.
I would give it 5 Wildflowers.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
I would
good.
give this up. And if it's organic, definitely, that's an extra
Right,
bonus.
right.
I love organic wines.
Very good.
Yeah, but it doesn't say it on the label, so I was puzzled by that.
I'll look into that more, but
So,
that sounds
yeah.
delicious.
But anyway, it's very good. It's a
Very,
nice
very
wine.
good.
For $20.
I'll take that one home.
Yeah, go ahead. You can fight fight with Carol over it.
No, you
You
can
can
Pour
pour
her
it
a
in
glass,
can't do
pour
it.
her a glass,
No, no,
and
no,
then
I'll
take
get
the
arrested.
rest.
No, it's fine. It's
No,
fine.
no, I'm just joking. You keep it.
Yeah,
Very
it's
nice.
a nice one. So anyway, yeah, that's my one.
So I said 5 wildflowers.
I
you
said
both-
5 is
Oh, I definitely 5.
Yeah,
It's
delicious.
very good.
Okay. Very good.
And I was glad because, well, before I pick a wine for the podcast, I always do read reviews. So, and this did get good reviews and
They were
sounded
right.
delicious. And I said, oh, I'll try it.
So what you're saying is that if you read a bad review, you won't.
No, I don't do it. Then I said, no, I'm not going to buy it.
But
Even
maybe-
if, like, one person gives a very bad review, I'll
Really?
say, no, I'm not going to get it because I might be that one person, you know. And I don't want to spend $20 on a bottle
Oh,
of
yeah,
wine that I
because,
don't want, you know.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so, no, I always read the reviews. That's one part of Total Wine that I really do like.
Do you read reviews for books?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you?
No. I'll ask somebody.
After I read the book.
Oh, okay.
I read the reviews.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me. That's
yeah.
me. Oh,
I mean, I
Especially if I
have
like
done
it.
it on occasion.
Yeah.
I've looked, but for the most part, I don't. I usually just ask somebody.
Oh,
Like, I'll go into
right.
the bookstore and I'll say, you know.
Now, but with a caveat, if I do read reviews, but
Yeah.
it's not to buy books. Like if I come
Right.
across a review for something, like
Yeah.
before when I was on Facebook and I was on the Modern Literature Society, the group, people were always posting reviews of authors.
Yeah.
I would make a note or a picture to say, okay, well next time I'm at the bookstore, I'm going to look because this one sounds like
Right.
something I
Right.
would
Right.
like.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm not reading reviews
Yeah.
when I buy books. I
Right.
just,
Yeah, me too. But you know, like sometimes the New York Times will
Right.
publish like 10 books that you should read this
Exactly.
summer.
Right.
So I will go down, and if something sounds appealing to me, then I write down the title and
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So
That's how I came across that book, Crossroads, which I know you had a little different take on it,
Yeah, yeah.
but I read it because of something I read.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
but it's
right.
not always.
you know what I want? I've been meaning to ask you a question. I had bought you a book. It must be like a year ago now, and it was a nonfiction book about fairy tales.
I didn't read it yet.
Oh, because
Yeah.
for some reason
I knew you were gonna ask me
lately,
about that,
it's been in my mind. I said, I wonder how that book was.
I'll pump it up to my list.
Oh, don't worry about it. No, I was just
I would
curious.
review it because I don't
Yeah.
sound like I'm drowning in books here. I read
Yeah.
it and I tell you guys what I read.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was just curious because
No,
when I
it's a
bought
good
it,
one.
I said, oh, it sounds like it's a really interesting book.
There's just so much to read now. and
Well,
it's
it's-
like
Yeah, I
always-
understand. I
yeah.
have so many
Yeah.
books
But isn't
in my
it your
queue.
turn? with the
It
book?
is, and this
So
is
that'll
one
be
of
a
the
segue?
book, my segue. It's my turn with the book, and what I read was a nonfiction book, and it's called An Indigenous Peoples History of the United States, and it's by
Wow.
Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz. This is the 10th anniversary edition, which I have. For some reason I thought it was 20th, but no, it's not. So the 10th anniversary edition came out. I've always been interested in Native American history, but I'm not a good history student. I have to say that I'm not very well. You know, as I forget things.
I forget things too.
Days
I'm
go out,
with you.
names go
Mhm.
out, and so. But as I get older, I really try to make a conscious effort to be better at it, and with everything that's been going on politically, especially with our immigrants and what I see in different countries around the world, I said I really should know a little bit more about how our country was founded. I didn't take any notes, but I did want to just kind of start with something. This book, I want to say, is very well searched. If you have any interest in Native American history and you want a general, but a detailed yet general arcing picture of the Native American history of the United States.
Yeah.
You should start with this book.
Yeah.
It's very well researched. It's well cited throughout the book, and there's a whole list of sources in the back of other books you could read, which I've already marked a bunch that I want to
that's
take
so
out
cool.
and look.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's a very good writer too. So there's one sentence here. It says, "The affirmation of democracy requires the denial of colonialism, but denying it does not make it go away."
Right.
And whether we like it or not, no matter how much you love your country, the United States, we conquered indigenous people that were living here peacefully,
Mhm.
that were here first,
Right.
indigenous, so what it
Mhm.
means, first
Yeah.
people, you were
Yeah.
here,
Mhm.
and we brutally,
Oh, please.
brutally destroy their existence.
Yeah, their culture, their language,
Their livelihood.
their land,
Everything.
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 And what was interesting, you know, in a lot of the things, I know, don't get scared by all the no's, because I know this is not my topic, but one thing, I love when I learn things. And right at the beginning, I learned something about scalping.
Mm.
You know, scalping, you cut off.
It didn't start with the indigenous people, right?
There's evidence that some tribes did have it, but it was not universal among indigenous tribes. Some tribes did practice some form of it in very limited circumstances. But the English people used scalping way back when as a method for conquering West Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. They scalped the heck out of people in Ireland.
I remember
You know,
reading something about
yeah,
that
I
once
didn't
years
know
ago,
this.
and I said, "Oh my God!"
And the English paid bounties
Mhm.
for scalps, and that's how they got people to come here. Now, because the English came over here,
Mhm.
that practice followed over
Right.
here. And so growing up, and I'm a child of the 70s, you know, you see westerns, you
Right.
read
Well,
Little House on the
well,
Prairie,
too.
you know, even,
We
you know,
were immersed in them,
Yeah.
and
that
the
it was
Indians were always the bad
Indians
guys.
Oh yes, that scalp. But it was
Cowboys and
actually the settlers, and sanctioned by the United States government, who promoted scalping on a widespread scale. And they had scalp bounties where they would pay people. It was something like 60 cents or some sort of ridiculous, which was a lot of money back then, I
Right,
guess,
right.
per scalp, regardless of the age or sex.
Yeah.
So there were numerous baby scalps,
I can't.
women, children, and they got paid no matter what. And this was by the U.S. government telling the settlers to go and do this.
Yeah. Even
That
in
wasn't
some
taught
of
to us.
the cowboy movies that we used to watch, that was brought out.
Oh,
That
yeah.
well, I got all these scalps here
Yeah,
in my bag, and
Yep. And you always, if you play Cowboys
Yeah.
and Indians, the Indians were the bad
Yeah.
people.
Always. Well, that's
Yeah.
you know, we know that's purposeful, because in order
Right.
for colonization to happen, they have to turn the unwanted, the
You need an
undesirable
enemy. Yeah.
into an enemy,
Like
which is
today.
what's
Yeah,
happening.
exactly.
Which is happening in Israel versus Palestine. You know, as well at the same time.
it's happening here in this country
It's
too.
happening
The
right
immigrants
now.
are the
Immigrants
enemy.
are the undesirable, and that we
Yep.
have to believe that they're the enemy in order for this to work. right?
Exactly.
One thing about this woman that's a Native American, they have it on video that she was pulled over by ICE.
This author?
No, just this woman.
Oh, sorry.
It's on video. Somebody was videotaping it, and the cop or the ICE agent, whatever they were, they don't tell you who they are, said, "Are you a citizen?" And she looked at him. She goes, "I'm the first citizen." And he goes, "What?" She goes, "I'm the first citizen. Are you a citizen?" She goes, "My people were here first. What? You're an immigrant." And she said that on camera, and I didn't get to see it was like, on TikTok or whatever. But that reminds me of this, what we did to them, and they have to defend themselves to this day.
It's and it's not recognized.
Right, exactly.
It's not taught to us really in schools. We learn a little bit about Native American history,
Well,
like,
Christopher Columbus was, yay.
but it's not to the point. But we still put up on pedestals not only Columbus, right? But everybody else who's done it. Like, for example, started here in Western New York, the Haudenosaunee Indians, which are the 6 nations of the Iroquois
What were they
Indians.
called?
Haudenosaunee.
How do you?
Right here,
Oh, okay,
Haudenosaunee.
thank you,
But
okay.
it means the
Wow.
6 nations of the Iroquois. Some of them, most of them, out of the 6 nations, 5 of them sided with the British when they, during the time of George Washington. When we were
That was the
forming
French and
Democracy.
Indian Wars,
Yes.
right?
And one of them supported the settlers. They were the ones that were Christianized, became
Yeah.
Christianized. But around 1775, this pissed off George Washington that 5 of the tribes in Western New York were siding with the British rather than him and his cause. So in response to this decision, General Washington wrote instructions. We have the paper, it's cited to in here. Wrote instructions to a Major General John Sullivan. You will not by any means, this is a quote, listen to, I started wrong. This quote, he directed him to lay waste all the settlements around, that the country may not be merely overrun, but destroyed. You will not by any means listen to any overture of peace before the total ruin of their settlements is effected. Our future security will be in their inability to injure us and in the terror with which the severity of the chastisement they receive will inspire them.
So that's in reference to destroying the Iroquois tribes.
Because
And
they
New York.
would not side with
Right.
them.
Wow,
So
I have
even
to tell
if they-
Jessica
even
that
if
she
they-
loves George Washington.
even if they
And then you
declared
have that burst
peace.
her little bubble.
No, even if they declared peace, they would.
Wow, yeah.
So they talk about Trail of Tears. I know I talked about last. I'm not going to go on that, but there were some really good things. So to bring it like to full circle, even Lincoln. You want to hear something about Lincoln?
I don't know.
Go ahead, destroy all of my heroes here.
No, we need to know.
No, I know.
What did I have here? In 1861, under Lincoln's watch, right? I'll read the account. He displaced and ordered the displacement of the Cheyennes and the Arapahoes, right? By 1861, displaced and captive Cheyennes and Arapahoes under the leadership of the great peace seeker, Black Kettle, were incarcerated in a U.S. military reservation called Sand Creek near Fort Lyon in southeastern Colorado. They camped under a white flag of truce and had federal permission to hunt buffalo to free themselves, okay? So they were only hunt there. Fast forward, no buffalo left because they were all, that's why the great buffalo die out, because they were starving out the Indians.
Yes,
Right. So they
uh-huh.
wanted to kill all the buffaloes, right?
Right.
So, but they still didn't leave, even though they were starving, because they were still sticking under their white flag and blah, blah, blah. Despite that, they were ordered, they took 700 Colorado volunteers, this is the government, and without provocation or warning, they attacked, leaving dead 105 women and children and 28 men. They were sitting there as they were supposed to under a white flag of truce with no food, no way to feed themselves, and despite that, under Lincoln's direction.
And what was the purpose of it? It was because they wanted the
They want the
territory, or
this was the fastest colonization of this square footage of land ever. I mean, talk about how quickly this happened. It's really shocking. The last thing I just kind of want to talk about, again, you may all know this. I wasn't alive during Vietnam War, but there was a lot of parallels made between the Battle of Wounded Knee and My Lai in Vietnam, the big mass massacre, right? This surprised me. And again, rethink our heroes, rethink people. This has to do with Jimmy Carter. And I was like really surprised at this part. But in My Lai, which it happened in Vietnam, it occurred, which was happening at the same time as the second Wounded Knee in 1973 was going on here. The first one was in 1890, of course. There was this lieutenant, Lieutenant William Rusty Calais, right, who was then, do you know?
that was
remember
the
his name?
massacre.
He was responsible, but
Yep.
what's one of the very well documented things which led to his cushy home confinement, really, for 20-year sentence, right? Afterwards was that My Lai took place. Okay, this is what he did himself. He saw, one of the documented acts among many that Calais committed and ordered others to carry out at My Lai took place when he saw a baby crawling from a ditch filled with mutilated, bloody bodies. He picked up the baby by a leg, threw the infant back into a pit, and then shot the baby point blank. I had to put this book down, and I cried in the library when I read that.
Yeah.
No.
My Lai was one of thousands of such slaughters led by officers just like him. But this was a few weeks before where the same one, Lieutenant Calais, was observed throwing a stooped old man down a well and firing his automatic rifle down the shaft. This is a man who Jimmy Carter pardoned.
Oh.
Carter pardoned this man. And I'm really pissed off about that.
Yeah.
And I'm really conflicted about that.
Yeah.
But this really, I mean, I don't want to go into it, but stuff like this,
We need to know.
you need to read because,
And I'm sure she's got backup with facts. Like
oh
this,
yeah,
you know,
it's so, everything is cited in here.
Cited,
And
yeah.
everything is cited, and really, I mean, about 1/4 of this book is reference material and citations. I love that when a book has that thick of a
Absolutely, yeah.
section.
Yeah.
Because, and her continued reading list, like I
Wow.
said, is phenomenal.
Wow.
Look, this is it.
So that's heavy duty research.
It's heavy duty research, and but yet it gives a general overview. I've already bought a couple of books to focus more on some other key battles that I wasn't really heard of, or maybe didn't know enough of. So I got them from a non-Amazon site, and I bought them, and I just think it's something we should all be aware of. You know, when Hitler was finally conquered in Germany, the people out there admitted it. We talked about it. They enacted laws. They taught their population what to, so that to prevent it from happening again. Countries prevented basically anti-Hitler laws, we aren't taught to the extent we should be about how we colonize these people, and we should not be shocked.
Kidnap their children.
We should not be shocked that we're doing it again, because history repeats itself when we don't know the truth.
I just can't help but think humans are just despicable beings.
It's not only our history. I mean, it happens all over
Right,
the world, and
exactly.
the world's history.
They call them
back from-
savages. Yet, they were people
Oh my
living
God.
here for thousands of years, living off the land with the resources in harmony with the land. And yet we come in, destroy the resources, take over all the land, bring disease, bring strife.
Would you say that
Who's
it's
the
somewhat
savage?
in the name of religion?
Oh,
I know
really?
No, I think it was really in the name of power and greed.
But then
And,
don't you think because how they took the kids to educate them?
That was religion. That was
Right.
it's
Organized-
killing their culture.
Culture.
That was the main point of that.
Well, that's what it, but religion per se, organized religion, I think is just another means to get power
It's
over
control.
people who
Control.
don't
Right,
respond
right.
to the greed.
Yeah.
Right? Because the indigenous people are not without beliefs
Yeah.
or religion.
Oh yeah, they're
The
very
people, like,
spiritual.
That
spiritual.
they won a Supreme Court case over the Black Hills in South, that area there. Finally, that's a religious significance.
Yeah.
They have religious ceremonies.
Oh, yeah.
They're just
No.
not organized
Yes, they're not
religion.
Christians.
That doesn't mean it's different
Right.
or wrong.
Right.
I mean, it means it's different, but it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right. How many wildflowers?
5. Everybody should read this. This should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
This is
Good luck with that.
This is an
happening now.
amazing book, and I would highly recommend this.
Say
to
the
anybody.
title again.
An Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. Thank you, Ms. Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz, for writing it. I thought it was very well put together. She could have made volumes of this, but to do it in a way to give us a taste and to ignite our interest is what it did for me, at least. And I'm continuing my reading. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank
Wow.
you. Sorry that went on long.
No,
that's okay.
You know what? When it's something that important, just people need to hear it and cry. No, I understand you about you crying in the library.
In the library,
That-
yeah.
I had
The
a book-
visual of it.
I did that when I read Jane Goodall's book about the gorillas and how they and I was like, no, animals can't be that mean, because the animals were being mean to like other cultures or other groups of animals, and I'm like, what? I was really shocked and dismayed, and I started sobbing. Anyway, so it's my turn for the topic. So, I want to ask you both a question first. When did you first decide whether you wanted to be straight or gay? At what point in your life you're like, do I want to be straight or do I want to be gay?
It's not a
I
decision.
don't think it was a decision.
Okay.
Yes.
Look at that. Okay, right? Okay. Exactly. It's not a choice.
Nope.
It's not a choice, and that's something that we have to educate people on. And I would like to think that people more and more realize that, but it's being
Oh, we're regressing right now, so.
So for so long, those who are gay or bi are made to think that there's something wrong with them. This has always been the thing, and I have to admit, years ago, that's how I was taught to believe, and you'd say it in hushed tones, like,
Right.
oh, well, there's something a little wrong with them.
Like they have a disease or
Yeah,
something.
and so it wasn't until I actually heard a comedian who say, why would I choose to be gay and get ostracized and get a brutally, kept from a career, any number of things? And it was like a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
I mean, that could apply to so many things in your life. I often think of that when women are come forward because they've been sexually molested or raped. Said, why? Why would anybody put themselves in that position?
Because they know it'd be a long road to go down. So there's footage of students being told now, let me start with this. I was watching a PBS documentary about Stonewall. And then it was going back with the history of what was going on. So they showed footage of students being told that if they were caught in the act, and they were very, very subliminal of what the act was, that there would be severe punishment, and their parents would be devastated, and their parents would be punished too.
And go to hell then.
Well, yeah, but it was physical punishment too.
Yeah.
So here's some ways that those who aren't straight have been discouraged about being who they really are. Because, people like saying, well, why didn't they come out when they were actors, like, Rock Hudson or whatever? And there was a lot of reasons why. Now, there's one thing called praying the gay away. There was
Like in the Book of Mormon, we saw that.
Yes, praying the gay away. You could send the person to conversion therapy camp.
Mike Pence was, didn't Mike Pence have a group like that where
he
was,
may have.
Mike Pence did?
I think so.
Having
Conversion.
Electrotherapy to lobotomies. That was one thing that they did, and that was in Midwife, Call the Midwife.
Yeah.
They went and
they did that for
saved
women too, just because if they read books.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
You
usually
could be
what they go to.
arrested, like Oscar Wilde was, and
Right.
put in prison. And you could also be disowned by family and friends.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Unfortunately, that still happens.
exactly. And yeah. So studies consistently show that members of the community, LGBTQ, I'm not going to keep saying that over and over again, experience disproportionately higher rates of suicidal thoughts and attempts compared to their heterosexual or cisgender peers, CIS gender peers, which denoting or relating to a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex registered for them at birth. So just because it says that they were born a female doesn't mean that they really are. And people tend to think the outside genitals are what calls the shots, and we're learning more and more that there's much more to it.
Absolutely.
As it pertains to the suicide, that's one of the things in the big beautiful bill.
Oh, Bill, yes.
That's
well,
being cut. It's those suicide, not all of the suicide
coming up.
hotlines. Oh, okay.
But no,
Okay.
no, go ahead, jump in, because this is part of the
Yeah.
conversation. Absolutely, and that's, the
Yeah.
big, beautiful bill.
Yeah. Well, some people are calling it the big bullshit bill.
Oh, I
That's
like
right.
that. I like that much better.
Yeah.
So the thing is, homosexuality has existed throughout human history, with evidence found in ancient civilizations and across various cultures. It's always been here because it's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
Look at the Romans. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
and the
the
Greeks
Romans
and-
were.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
So while the term homosexuality is a relatively recent description, same-sex attraction and relationships have been documented for millennia. Even though whenever Peggy and I go somewhere, we always say, we're not gay, we just hang. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we do make a joke about it. So in 1938, the word gay was used for the first time on film to refer to homosexuality in the movie Bringing Up Baby. Remember that movie?
interesting.
Oh, was
Yeah.
that Rock Hudson was in
No,
that
Cary
movie?
Grant and Katharine Hepburn.
Oh,
and it
yes,
was with the
I saw the
leopard.
I thought it was a tiger, but
Well,
okay,
actually,
yeah.
you know what? It was about a leopard, which was really a jaguar in the movie.
Oh,
they said.
okay,
But,
okay.
yeah, so yeah, they said they
I
couldn't
see it.
train a
Yeah.
leopard, so they had a jaguar.
So there was a homosexual in it?
No, the word gay was just used.
The
for-
word gay and not like being happy
Pertaining
gay,
to,
for
right, a
pertaining to
homosexual.
homosexuality.
That, according to my notes.
Okay.
Huh,
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that movie
I
again
know.
and try and catch
yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely. I know that. Do I dare say this? When my son was younger with his cousin, they would say, "Oh, that's so gay."
Oh
Yes,
yes, I remember that
yes.
too.
And I would have to
Yes.
kind
Yeah.
of like rein them in
Yeah.
and say, "You're saying that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Do not do that."
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that's, that
Yeah,
was
but
a
it
big
was
thing at
accepted
the time.
then. That was
Yeah.
before politically correct. It was
Right.
like, oh, that's so gay. Don't do that. You
Yeah,
know, it was-
but I
right.
was aware
Yeah.
of it because I did have, at that point, I had a lot of gay friends too,
Right.
so I was just like, no. So anyway, unfortunately, the progress in recent years, we're being challenged again. We have, like Peggy said before, we're going backwards. So Project 2025, which we've been talked about on this podcast, is a political initiative and federal policy agenda developed by the Heritage Foundation, a
Russell
conservative quote unquote think tank, and you need more wine?
No.
Oh, there it is. Okay. A coalition of over 100 conservative organizations calls for removing the terms sexual orientation and gender identity from every federal rule, agency, regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. This erasure is symbolic. It's part of a systematic effort to strip LGBTQ, people of all legal protection from persecution, discrimination, like you said before, and violence. So here's just a few examples of how Project 2025's authors say they'd do it. Think about this. These are people who are gay, and people tend to say, oh, they're not normal. They are normal. They're who they are. They dismantle the Affordable Care Act protection against sex discrimination in health care. They'd reverse the 2024 Title IX rule depriving students, and in fact all students, especially women and girls, of non-discrimination protections in K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities that get federal funding. They would gut LGBTQI workplace discrimination protections, limiting them just to bring and firing decisions. They don't stop there. They'd create draconian restrictions on gender-affirming care, and they cast supportive parents and health providers as engaging in mutilation and child abuse. They call for programs that promote families comprised of a married mother, father, and their children, and treat other families as threats to a healthy society. Threats to healthy society. They'd make it easier for the LGBTQI people to be turned away or discriminated against by anyone with personal objection to our existence, including by weaponizing and contorting religious refusals and free speech rights. Project 2025's authors also paint supportive schools as full-on harbingers of moral collapse, infested with the toxic normalization of transgenderism. Project 2025 calls for outlawing pornography and equates that with
Because that all
materials.
went well.
Yeah,
Look
really.
Read the Compton rules. Look at that history.
It's ridiculous. It's just mind-blowing that acknowledge the existence of LGBTQI people. Pornography, they say, is manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgendered ideology and sexualization of children. You know how they always say, like, the gay males, like they're pedophiles?
Oh yeah.
It's always they're pedophiles.
Yep.
And it's basically like anything, you're trying to give them a bad rap, for lack of a better
Okay,
term.
if anybody would know, I used to work for the Sex Offender Registry Board in Massachusetts. I cross-examined thousands of sex offenders. A very, 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 very small percentage of them were gay. The majority of them were heterosexual males. We did have some females, and I always were very tough on them too, but it was mostly heterosexual males.
Because they like to make gay, particularly men, gay men, as their only sexual beings.
Well, that's what it is.
Yes,
and
yes,
they're confusing for history. I mean, psychologists will tell you sex offenses, sex crimes are not about sex.
No, it's about power. Yeah.
Power.
Right.
So this bullshit. Learn,
No,
it's driving me
absolutely.
crazy.
I know.
I'm sorry. I gotta.
No, I really appreciate
Angry
the
about that.
conversation. Absolutely. I don't like to just sit here and read. It's like converse.
Well, it's like in the Catholic Church too. Like if you're openly gay, you can't become a priest.
I cross-examined
Because
many
you might
Catholic
be-
priests as well.
You might be a pedophile, but look at all the pedophiles that heterosexual priests,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
how many were in the church
Those
and
were always fun
destroyed lives.
cases.
We are
that I
really
have.
screwed up
Can I have a
people.
little bit more wine?
Oh, certainly.
She
Judy.
needs it.
I was
Yeah,
getting
no.
very upset about this
Yeah,
because
no.
we're reading.
I'm sorry.
I know, and I've read Project 2025, and I know this, and I'm reading the most recent Supreme Court decision involving,
Yeah.
which I know you probably
No, go ahead, go ahead.
preventing certain upholding states' laws to
Yeah.
prevent minors from getting sex procedures. Health.
Right.
People say, well, it's their parents. If their parents consent and their
Yeah.
doctors consent,
Right.
stay the fuck out
Right.
of people's business.
That's right. That's right.
Stay the fuck
same
out.
as to stay out of our bodies.
Bodies, yeah.
You have no business doing
Exactly.
it. And even though I would say, personally, I don't know if I had a young child, if I would
your
do
call.
those
But
procedures
it would be
until they got older.
It's
Right.
your call, but
Exactly,
Can
but
I
that's
tell you
what it should
something?
be.
It's funny you said that because when my girls were young, people said, "Aren't you going to have their ears pierced? Aren't you going to have their ears pierced?" And I'm like, "That's going to be their decision, but they've got to be like 15 or 16 years old." And it was just about ear piercing.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, I don't know, it was important to me to make sure that they were mature enough to handle that decision.
I had the similar thing with social media. As you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
I was growing up, I wanted to put pictures of my kids up on social media.
Right,
Very
right.
rare. It was always the back for a long time.
Right,
Occasionally,
yeah.
I put a picture of the face, but that was when they were like, baby pictures, but
Yeah.
now they're like 10 or 12.
Right.
They're 16 now. We don't really have social media at all now.
Right.
But it was because I said, no, I'm their parent. I have to
That's
protect
right.
their right to privacy. I have to protect.
And it doesn't
There.
matter what somebody says to you, "Oh, Judy, no, you're the parent."
It's your
I'm the parent.
decision
It's
to
my
make.
call.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna. And the
Right.
same thing with transgender, right? I know
Yeah.
parents that are going through this. It's not flippant.
No,
They're not
no,
fly
no,
by night. These are decisions that are made with the help of professionals, with medical, psychological, with
And you-
painstaking thoughts.
And you think about years ago how they were still struggling with this, but no one gave it a voice because it just was
Well,
not.
that's what they want to do now.
They
Is by
wanna-
because
yeah.
it's a common enemy, and
They want to
drive
put
them
everybody back into the
down.
closet.
So because it's easier to control people like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's hard to escape the implications of what this means. If affirming the LGBTQ people equals pornography, and pornography must be banned, that sounds an awful lot of like it's criminalizing respect for our existence. They take it one step further. Now this is Project 2025. They say that people who make this material available should be imprisoned, and teachers and libraries who share it should be forced to register as sex offenders.
Yeah.
The material being pornographic material?
Well, they think
There was
that
a
what
state-
about gays, and they call that pornography.
There was
okay.
a state that did this, and I don't recall.
Probably
I have to look at
Tennessee, they do a lot
It
of
was
states.
a state that did, but I think it ended up being repealed. But there was some
Yeah.
state who tried to do this before 2025.
Yeah.
Project 25 came into effect. I'm wondering if that state's
Yeah.
was the inspiration. I got to
So
figure out.
criminalizing people like teachers and librarians is not about protecting kids.
No,
It's about vilifying LGBTQ youth and turning them into boogeyman in a manufactured culture war is about isolating them by threatening anyone who supports them. So it's basically saying, if you come out and somebody's protecting you, whatever, they're going to go down with the ship too. So maybe you better keep your mouth shut and not.
This group, LGBTQ, they must have such power.
Oh,
They're afraid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they are out and out speaking, it's a threat to their masculinity, to religion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The whole original story, Adam and Eve. And,
I don't know. Jesus hung out with an awful lot of men, all those apostles.
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's is trying to control them and stuff them into silence again.
Yeah.
Why? What are you so afraid of?
Yeah. So Pete Hegseth,
Oh God.
the fucker that he is, and sorry, did I say that out loud? Announced that transgender troops have between 30 and 60 days to leave the military or be removed after a victory for the Pentagon ban at the Supreme Court. Lawmakers in at least 9 states have introduced measures to try to chip away at same-sex couples' right to marry. 5 of the measures, including one introduced in Michigan, urged the Supreme Court to overturn its 2015 landmark ruling in Obergefell versus Hodges, which granted same-sex couples nationwide right to marry. State Representative Josh Schreiber, a Republican elected in November 2022, introduced the marriage resolution in Michigan, saying in a statement on social media that the Obergefell ruling is at odds with the sanctity of marriage, the Michigan Constitution and principles upon which the country was established.
You know what? I have to say something because not everybody gets married before God.
Okay, exactly. But wait.
I didn't.
I didn't either. I got married in my living room with a justice of the peace.
But then I got divorced. Okay, so sanctity of marriage, Hebrews 13:4, this is from the Bible, says, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers. So it's also the same in the 7th commandment about adultery. In essence, the true meaning of adultery revolves around the violation of marital vows and the resulting consequences, both personal and relational. The felon in the White House is an adulterer and is a mockery for the sanctity of marriage.
They don't care. Nobody
Let's not
cares.
talk about gays getting married. It's just...
It's not about, it's about making an enemy and the fear of the acceptance, if we do that, what it means for, because if they lose religion, they lose control.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's
And
about
religion
control.
is falling to the wayside, so they're trying to
They're trying to bring us
with
back
exactly.
to how it used to be, because it's all about control.
Make America great
Yep.
again, folks. So
Notice how the red hats turn to white now?
I know.
Yeah.
I did
Please.
notice that.
All you need is the white robe covering the face.
I get a little hood.
yeah. Oh my God. So many of these politicians like using the Bible as their justification for what they want to do. So let's look at just a couple of verses from the Bible. So Leviticus 18:22. Yeah, it says this. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It's an abomination. That's the one they always love to cite. And then they never cite these, so let me bring these up. This is Exodus 35:2. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath to rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. Okay? All right, you can be put to death, but you don't mention that. Leviticus 19:26. Do not eat any meat with the blood still in it. 27. Do not cut the hair at the size of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. 28. Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord.
We're all going to hell.
Yes, 33. Listen to 33. Leviticus 33. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, Do not mistreat them.
I read this
The
recently.
foreigner, yeah, I shared it on Facebook.
Oh, okay, that's where I read it.
The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. I have a whole list of just different examples.
We should do that, a whole segment on that.
Well, I have a bunch of examples of a lot of gay people, like I talked about Stonewall. And with Stonewall, in June 28, 1969, police in the early morning hours raided a gay bar, the Stonewall Inn, located in Greenwich Village in Manhattan. This event sparked the Stonewall riots, and I just watched the PBS documentary, and it was just fascinating. And this was a series of demonstrations by members of the gay community. Recently, the documentary. There was a whole bunch of other ones that I listed, and I know I've been going on and on. The one that really kills me, there's a bunch that's just horrible what we've done to these people, is Matthew Shepard. Remember Matthew Shepard? October
Yes.
7th.
I don't remember.
You'll remember.
I do.
A gay student in Laramie, Wyoming, who was tortured, beaten severely, tied to a fence, and abandoned. He was found 18 hours after the attack and succumbed to his injuries less than a week later. His attackers are both serving 2 consecutive life sentences in prison, and it couldn't be long enough. When Trump was running for re-election, he said he would eliminate protections for transgender students on day 1 of his presidency.
These are citizens.
Yep, exactly. We can expect the federal government to rescind all federal regulations, rules, and other policies that prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, and to assert that federal civil rights statutes don't cover anti-LGBTQ discrimination either. This could strip LGBTQ people of protections against discrimination in many contexts, including employment, housing, education, healthcare, and a range of federal governments.
And
Well, why-
guess what? It could apply to any one of us
Absolutely.
if they so choose.
Exactly.
He's a repeat. During his first presidency,
Yep.
he took the protections away from the gay marriage.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's absolutely. In Nazi Germany, homosexuality was heavily criminalized and persecuted, with homosexuals being arrested, imprisoned, in concentration camps, and subjected to physical harm. I never heard about the pink triangle. Have you ever heard about
No.
I
No.
never did either. It was used to identify homosexual men in concentration camps. It was a badge that the Nazi regime forced prisoners to wear to identify them as gay men.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, right. It was a form, exactly. It was a form of identification and dehumanization, placing them at the
And
bottom
easy
tier.
targets.
Exactly.
Because that's who they
They-
call
They
on later at
Well, they
night.
probably used them for sex.
Yeah.
I'm sure those men were raped by those
Absolutely.
guards.
Yep. It placed them at the bottom tier of the camp hierarchy and often subjecting them to harsher treatment. In London, secret underground clubs like the Caravan provided a space for gay men to gather and socialize despite the illegality of homosexuality. Now, I'll end this with this book that I was supposed to do help with publicity for, but it came out just when COVID hit, and so the book didn't go very far, but the book is called The Queerness Doesn't Matter, A Journey with My Friends of Dorothy. And men in World War II, if they said, oh, I'm a friend of Dorothy,
Oh. I knew it sounded
Do they
familiar.
mean Dorothy
You must have
like
talked about
Wizard
it.
of Oz.
Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz, yes.
so,
Oh,
and
it's
the
got
reason they got that is said, okay, it was a line of poignant simplicity and truth, and it was attributed to the character of Dorothy in the 5th of the Oz books written by L. Frank Baum in the early 1900s. The scene within that book involved another primary character, one named, perhaps ironically, Polychrome, who made the observation to Dorothy, "You have some queer friends, Dorothy."
Wow.
To which Dorothy replied, "The queerness doesn't matter, so long as they're friends.
That's right.
And that's how I want to end this, because I have so many gay friends, and I know that they didn't choose that lifestyle. It was chosen for them, however way, and I love them. And I think what they must be afraid, just like the immigrants are afraid of what's going to happen to them now.
Everybody should be afraid.
Everybody. Something you said when you were going through the Bible verses just brought up one I've always thought was so interesting, was Matthew 6:5.
Okay.
Jesus says, and when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So if you're telling me to pray out in public,
right?
You're like the hypocrites that Matthew preached about in the Bible that you like to say.
Yeah. Well, just like Pete Hegseth, he was being grilled by a senator. I wish I could remember her name, and she was quoting something about immigration in the conversation, and she was quoting it from a book, and he said, well, the only book that I'll take facts from is the Bible, and that's what you should do too.
And you know what? If you're quoting the Bible, don't be selective.
Exactly.
You know,
the whole thing.
Exactly.
If you're going to believe this one thing verbatim, then look at the other scriptures, and you're going to do that
too. And
too.
there's so many more, like how you shouldn't plant seeds next to each other, because if you do, you could be murdered.
Yeah, you could.
And
Do what next to
plant
each other?
seeds next to
Oh.
or a different thread, and your different threads, you know, you could be murdered.
We're all gonna. We could all
But
do
yet
that.
they pick up on that one.
I would love the Pope one day, whatever Pope's in power, to just one day release the books that were not chosen to be in the Bible.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of books written by women.
Yeah, people don't
that were not
realize that
chosen
the
to
book
be in
was
the Bible.
Oh,
They
I didn't
think-
know that.
Oh,
yeah.
yes,
No.
the Vatican chose what the Bible
okay.
is.
Right,
essentially.
well,
not the Vatican, but
Not the
not the
Vatican,
Vatican,
no,
but
right.
I always wrote, but like the version.
The
of it.
hierarchy of the Catholic
Yeah.
Church.
No, not even the Catholic, the Protestant. It was
Protestant.
the Protestant, you know,
Oh.
because there are books that are left out of the Protestant Bible that were written by Catholic Church. So they picked and chose what they wanted to be, and then they said they were wholly inspired by God.
Well, many a war has been fought in the name of religion.
Right,
Okay, it's and
You know
even
what?
to this day,
If you are
in the Middle East, it's about religion. It's about
if you could wrap this talk up with one sentence or even a little bit longer, what would you say?
I would say this
Think about something.
topic. My heart's broken. You know, when you brought up this up, it reminded me of a very close family member who is no longer with me, us, but he came out as being gay later in life, and something I always knew, but never. And after he came out as gay, I never saw him so happy. But unfortunately, it was very short-lived. Not related to a gay, related to COVID and the president's policies. He was a supporter of the president and did not get the COVID shot because he believed in the president, and he died accordingly. So, anyway, but the happiest time of his life, but he didn't come out because he didn't want to disappoint family.
so he never lived his true life.
He never got to
Yeah.
until late.
Until very late on, and it was very short-lived because of this.
How about you, Peggy? What would it be?
Well, my takeaway from this is I wish that true Christians, truly religious people, no matter what, no, you're Christian or you're Jewish or you're Muslim, would speak out against these phony Christians that are pushing these agendas not
exactly.
only here, but all over the world. And they are separating people and preaching hate. And I think the really good people in the world need to speak out against it, particularly like we could speak out against it, go to a
We
protest,
are
but
speaking out.
nobody listens to us. But I'm talking about people in power, like religious leaders who have followings. Why aren't they preaching that in their sermons, like in St. Patrick's Cathedral?
Right, right.
Why aren't they speaking out against what is happening around the world, not just here in this country?
Right.
And I think that really needs to happen.
It's
because I think
It won't.
Yeah.
that's
Because
why
it's
a
about
lot of people
power.
are falling away from the church, because organized religion is not
Corrupt.
doing what they're supposed to
Right,
be doing.
Well, he's not a religious person, but when you mentioned something about, I forget what you said, but Dick Cheney was anti-homosexuality.
And so his
Until his
daughter.
daughter.
And then all of a sudden, it became a reality.
Yeah.
And it's the same for a lot of people, I think. I know
Until it
this-
affects you.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of parents that do turn on their kids or do not support them in their
They probably feel shame about it,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
don't want to be
Because
the pariahs
because it's
in
like-
their community.
It's
and-
like you said though before, like it's not just about sex.
No.
It's not.
It's about anything. If your child were diagnosed with anything or had something that would give them a hardship.
Mhm.
And let's face it, coming out as trans
Oh
or
my
as gay
gosh, yes.
is a hardship, but it could be anything. Do they have a psychological something? Do they have a disability? Whatever it
Right,
is,
right.
it's going to give them hardship. Your parental instinct should kick in. How can I help my
Yes,
child
exactly.
navigate this?
Uh-huh.
Because this society is going to make it hard for them.
And
Right.
just think
Yeah.
of how courageous those people are.
I know.
That they come out like that. I have trans people in my own family.
Yeah.
And I think, oh my God, you're so brave
Right,
to
right.
recognize who you really are and
Right.
try and live that life
Because
with
can
all
you-
the criticism
And
that
course,
you
but
get.
parents who support them
Mhm.
right at the
Exactly.
beginning.
But
They're
can you
brave.
imagine though, like living that secret? Like I think 50 years ago, like I mentioned, Rock Hudson or different people, like
Yeah.
you couldn't be your true self.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you just couldn't. Yesterday I was at a party, my daughter's party, and her friend
I
who
was
I
there.
knew for years, I just love this guy. He introduced me to his husband, and I could
Yeah.
not have been happier for
Yeah.
him. And I was like, 20-30 years ago, he probably wouldn't have been able, oh, this is my friend,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
Raymond Burr, Perry
Yes.
Mason.
Right.
I found out a couple of years ago, because I always loved that show, Perry Mason.
Right.
And I looked him up once on Wikipedia. And he was gay, but he had to hide it.
I didn't
He
know that.
pretended that he was married
A lot
and
of them
had
did.
a child.
Yep, a lot
And
of
he
them did.
didn't. He was a gay man.
Well, it's funny you said because I read a book a few months ago. I didn't review it here at the time, but I should another time. It's a novel called The Many Lives of Greta Wells, and it's this woman. It's kind of an interesting concept where she goes into different time periods, but her brother's gay. And it's interesting to see how when she's the same person, but she goes to different
Right, yeah.
how her brother, depending on the timeline.
Oh, interesting.
So in the
Oh.
present time, he's with somebody and he's married. I think. Yeah, I got to double check that, but I think he's married.
Yeah.
But to see how he lives in different time periods was very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was well done in that,
Yeah.
in that way.
Well,
So,
this went on for a long time.
Yes,
I didn't
it
realize.
did.
I didn't even go into all the things that happened to a lot of people, but it's called The Queerness Doesn't Matter. I don't even know if you're able to get it now. A Journey with My Friends, and it's by what's his name?
Tara.
Yeah, what's it? Tom.
Tom
Castellini.
Castellini.
Yeah. So it's a shame because the book kind of got it was getting paper from China, and it was just held
Yeah.
up in so many different things.
There's
So.
a lot of photographs in
Yeah,
here.
it's all
it
these
seems
are all
like a
people
lot
that
of-
are LGBTQ and their stories of why they came out, and you know, so oh well, you think we're gonna
Oh, what? You
Lacey
already
thinks she thinks she's gonna get dinner, but she already. Anyway, thank you so much for your, giving us some attention here, and
Have a good day.
please
Bye, everyone.
go to a rally,
Yes.
write postcards.
Look for us.
Yes, and
Honk your horn if you see people out there in support.
That's
and
right.
if you're a Trumper, give yourself some time to digest what's happening in our country now, and ask yourself, how is this going to really affect me? It doesn't make sense
Read.
that and read. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you very
Bye.
much. I know this went over for a good
Oh,
hour.
it's good. I enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah. Well, Lacey,